SuperTalk Mississippi media production.
I don't have to tell you that it's hot outside, but did you know your tires and oil degrade faster in hot weather? That's why it's important for you to pay a visit to Summit's Auto Center, Exhaust Pro Tire and Lube. We make tire replacement easy at Exhaust Pro with the Auto Pass card. 1131 Highway 51 in Summit.
Oh, yeah.
Good morning, Mississippi.
Everything gonna be all right this morning.
Mornings with Richard Cross.
Oh, yeah.
Here on SuperTalk Mississippi.
Woo! Now, when I was a young boy, at the age of 5, my mother said I was gonna be the greatest man alive. But now I'm a man, way past 21. I want you to believe me, baby. I have lots of fun.
Good morning. Welcome in. Mornings with Richard Cross, Super Talk, Mississippi. Thanks for being with us on this Thursday morning. Glad to have you along for the ride. What a morning. We are all set to go for another big day at the Neshoba County Fair. Alongside Lance Tolbert, I'm Richard Cross. Lance, good morning.
Good morning, RC. How's it going today? Get to use some rubber boots yesterday or what?
I had them, and I was kind of in and out. We caught a huge break weather-wise yesterday. Huge break. You remember, we looked at the forecast yesterday morning, and let's see. It was right about the time we finished up the show, maybe half an hour later, it started raining. And I thought, uh-oh, not only is it raining, it's ahead of schedule. Kind of looked like there was going to be a little bit of rain that came in, and then it worked its way out. And it probably rained for about an hour yesterday morning. The problem was it looked like on the back side of that, man, it looked like there was a massive amount of rain that was coming. Like at lunchtime yesterday and then through middle part of the afternoon, it looked like it was going to be rough. We didn't get any of that.
Well, that's good. I know everybody was worried about it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm with you. Because I thought it was going to be a mess yesterday. And at one point, it looked like there were going to be not just rain, but some big-time thunderstorms yesterday afternoon. It just didn't happen. And it turned into a really nice day and not nearly as hot as it has been, as it could have been along the way. So,
feeling good about yourself, yeah.
Pretty good day at the fair yesterday.
Nice. Did you? Were the horse races able to go off yesterday? Or, I mean, how does that go with all the rain? Is that slowed things down or you know, are there still the buggy races and all the good stuff happening?
You know, it may have slowed the horses down a little bit.
Yeah, got to be a mutter. Mother's a mutter.
The wet track makes for a little bit slower track. No, they absolutely went off. And Trace Adkins on the big stage last night, and a great crowd for that. The midway was rolling, and you got people starting to mill about this morning as well. And I'll be interested to see if we get the similar thing that happened with us yesterday.
Yeah, you got those just kind of scraggling around.
Here they come.
There you go.
Here they come. I don't think this is the crowd that got up early for breakfast. I think they're kind of making their way in for the night.
Trace Atkins is a good time.
Yeah, well, he certainly is. Certainly is. You can be part of the conversation this morning on the C Spire text line, 601-879-4395, 601-879-4395. The one plan from C Spire is here. Fiber home internet and wireless, only $99 a month for a new or current C Spire customer. One plan, one price, one experience, zero compromises. You can save over $700 a year with 3 phone lines from C Spire compared to AT&T. Plus, with the 5-year price lock, you pay one rate with no surprises guaranteed. So don't wait. Get the one plan today. Visit your local C Spire store or shop online now at cspire.com/oneplan. C Spire, customer inspired. What'd you wake up to weather-wise this morning?
Well, it's damp and foggy. It took about an extra 10 or 12 minutes to get here today because it was like pea soup out there. So if you're in the central area and headed on to the Ridgeland side of the res, boy, it was rough today. Y'all be careful. The reservoir side on the Rankin County side seemed to be okay, but as soon as you got to about Shaggy's, if y'all heading that way, be real careful, man. I couldn't see 10 feet, and it was pretty much that way all the way to Highway 51. So very foggy this morning, Richard, very humid.
So Shaggy's is the landmark. Once you get to Shaggy's, you got to slow it down a little bit.
Slow it down. I mean, I saw it, and I'm like, man, that is like a sheet of fog, and it really was. You got to it and hit it. And you were in it, man, for, pretty much all of Ridgeland over to 51. And it was, a little dangerous, honestly, because even with your lights on, it was really difficult to see people. Yeah.
Here in Philadelphia, where the Neshoba County Fair is happening, 85 degrees today for the high. Areas of, as Lance was just talking about, patchy fog early. Mostly cloudy, some scattered thunderstorms mixed in, mainly during the morning. High today around 85 again. Winds light and variable with a chance of rain about 50%. So we will see if we are able to dodge the raindrops throughout the course of the day today. Hattiesburg, you've got afternoon thunderstorms potentially on the way. Areas of patchy fog this morning. High of 89 to get today in Hattiesburg. Humidity checking in at about 78%. So muggy today. Winds light and variable. Just kind of a trace of wind as we go throughout the course of the day. How about Biloxi? Isolated thunderstorms potential for you. Some sunshine, some thunderstorms mixed in, maybe coming this afternoon. 88 for your high with winds out of the west at 5 to 10 miles per hour and a 50% chance of rain. If we circle back to North Mississippi, up in Corinth today, northeast corner of the state. Going to be pretty nice for you. Sunshine and some clouds mixed in, a stray shower or thunderstorm, 88 degrees for your high. Now, you remember yesterday in North Mississippi, we talked about a wind that was out of the north just a little bit. Not today. Winds back out of the south, meaning that it's going to be pretty warm. Pretty warm and a little muggy coming up as well. What have we got on the way? We've got a busy morning coming up with you. Sid Salter is going to join us to start the 7 o'clock hour. So 45 minutes or so from right now. Sid works at Mississippi State, but he is a lifelong fair goer. He has been here for the highs and lows of the Neshoba County Fair. He has seen fireworks along the way, both literal and figurative, and we will get him to weigh in on all that is happening today and throughout the week at the fair. Commissioner of Agriculture and Commerce, Andy Gipson, will be here. Look forward to the conversation with the commissioner. Told you last week he has a new album out. The multi-talented Andy Gipson will join us this morning, and look forward to that. Philip Gunn, former Speaker of the House and candidate for governor here in the Magnolia State. You want to talk about a guy that is putting in some miles right now. When you commit to trying to become the governor in Mississippi, you got to be willing to see as many people, meet as many people, be at as many events as you possibly can be, and Philip Gunn is doing that right now. He was at the fair yesterday morning. He got on the road before lunchtime yesterday, was headed to Tupelo for an event yesterday afternoon and last night there, and then he and his team were coming back early this morning. He's going to join us coming up at 8 o'clock, and we certainly appreciate that. Bill Cork from the Mississippi Development Authority will be here. He is the executive director there. You talk about a guy that puts in the miles and is traveling all over the place, not just all over Mississippi, but all over the country, and we are seeing the fruits of that labor happen almost on a daily basis. Michael Watson, the Secretary of State, will join us this morning. He, of course, has announced his candidacy for lieutenant governor. At the moment, unopposed. We haven't seen an opponent pop up for him yet. And then Brent Bean will join us as well. Brent is president with Build Mississippi, And that's a big part of the reason why we are here this week, the Neshoba County Fair, Mississippi's giant house party. Back and better than ever. We were with you yesterday. So was Gerard. With you again today. Gerard will be as well. And our coverage is brought to you by Build Mississippi. If you've got a student wondering what's next after high school, Build Mississippi can help show them their options. Our coverage also brought to you by Southern Farm and Ag, equipment that works as hard as the people running it. Just getting started with you this morning. Again, the C-Spire text line, 601-879-4395. We got news headlines coming up. We've got your morning sports update brought to you by Pearl River Resort, which is just over that way, I think. I need a compass to get my directions right, but I think just over that way. Pearl River Resort, of course, which is home of the Dancing Rabbit Golf Club, Silver Star, Golden Moon, Phillip M's, and so much more. Back with you right after this. Mornings with Richard Cross, Super Talk, Mississippi. Sit tight.
From the Venable Glass.
Keeping it real.
It's time for you to get real with it.
And keeping it Mississippi. Your voice for statewide and national politics.
Yes!
Mornings with Richard Cross on Super Talk, Mississippi.
I'm gonna get up in the morning, hit Highway 49. I'm gonna get up in the morning, hit Highway 49.
Welcome in. C-Spire text line is open to you, 601-879-4395, 601-879-4395. You can join the conversation right there. Ricky Gervais was born on this day in 1961. The British comedian, actor, writer, and director, creator, and star of The Office UK and Afterlife. Sharp, stand-up wit, host of the Golden Globes. Is Ricky Gervais one of those people, or is it just me that is kind of famous for being famous?
I don't know. I mean, he's pretty funny. He's just like when the guy talks. In general, he just has that way about him. I think he was made to be a comedian, his DNA. But the more, but I do think some of the small stuff, somehow or another, he got extremely famous. Like it seems like to me you're right on that. Nothing huge, but what a funny dude. I mean, just in general.
George Michael was born in 1963, the legendary English singer, songwriter, and producer. He was the frontman of Wham! And highly successful.
You remember the band partner, right? Andrew Ridgeley for Wham. That was the other guy.
I would say the Sound Machine. was that the partner?
No, Andrew Ridgeley. He was the other guy. Yeah. And,
Carly Simon, born on this day in 1945. You're so vain.
You are. You are so vain, Richard.
She had other songs. But did she really?
I don't know, man. That's the one.
Heard you went up to Saratoga. Your horse naturally won. Sonia Sotomayor of Supreme Court fame, born on this day in 1954, the first Latina and third woman to serve on the court. George Orwell was born on this day, June 25th, 1903. Animal Farm, 1984. Who could have known?
Yeah.
I mean,
he was in a time machine back then, huh?
Jeez. I know you and I've looked this up before. What year did 1984 come out?
1984? Hold on just a sec here. That's a good question.
I'll let you look that up. Reminding you that Anthony Bourdain was born on this day in 1956. The celebrity chef, author, and travel documentarian. Parts Unknown was his show.
1949. Sorry.
No, that's
on Orwell is 1949, June 8th, 1949.
Wow.
Yeah, that guy, dude had some kind of crystal ball.
Almost like he spent a little time looking into the future, and was pretty good when he did so. On this day, June 25th, 2025, some things that have happened along the way that stand out historically. Let's see. Where do we start with that? How about 1788, when Virginia became the 10th United States to ratify the Constitution? 1876, you had the Battle of Little Bighorn, also known as Custer's Last Stand. Lieutenant Colonel George Armstrong Custer and his 7th Cavalry defeated by the Lakota Sioux, Northern Cheyenne, and Arapaho warriors led by Sitting Bull and Crazy Horse.
Two of the greatest.
You're a history guy, and you've read about everything. Have you spent much time reading about the Battle of Little Bighorn?
I have, well, especially leading up to it, just the bravado and kind of going against a lot of, as you would think, advice that said, hey, probably ought not do this. But Custer was headstrong.
This might not go too well.
Yeah, underestimated the Indians greatly. As you said, the Lakota, the Cheyenne, and the Sioux all kind of ganged up. And when you have a guy named Sitting Bull and Crazy Horse running the show, they were very, very smart. And, two of the greatest leaders in the U.S. history of the American Indian. I mean, we know about them. And, it really catapulted their fame, but they were well known before that. And Custer had taken some liberties, He was a little overconfident, and that definitely extended himself a little far and just got slaughtered.
1950, the Korean War began as North Korean forces invaded South Korea, crossing the 38th parallel. In 1978, how about this? The first rainbow pride flag flown during the San Francisco Gay Freedom Day Parade, and it became an enduring symbol of LGBTQ plus pride. That was 1978 when that first happened.
And then everybody that just had the regular rainbow flag, they just became confused, didn't they? They're like, what am I going to do with this thing?
Yeah.
Because there was probably a lot of folks just flying the rainbow flag, unassuming. Woke up was like, what does this mean again?
Maybe, yeah. maybe there were a few of those that were out there. Herbert Hoover authorized construction of the Boulder Dam on this day in 1929. The Boulder Dam became the Hoover Dam as we know it today.
And Cousin Eddie's still looking for the fishing hole, I think.
Well, you got to drive by the damn store where you get the damn bait on the way to the Hoover Dam. If I remember correctly.
You're nailing it, man. Yeah.
I think that's how it goes. All right, news headlines this morning. Yesterday, Governor Tate Reeves announced a special session. No, not a special session. We'll get that later. Special elections following the deaths of 2 state lawmakers. Reeves asking voters in both House District 70, which includes parts of Hinds County, and House District 77, including parts of Rankin and Simpson counties, to go to the ballot box on November 3rd. They will be voting to fill vacancies created by the deaths of Representatives Bo Brown and Price Wallace. Brown was a Democrat that represented House District 70, had so since 2020, passed away on June 8th. He was 81 years old. Wallace, the Republican that represented House District 77, had been there since 2018, passed away on June 3rd. He was 64 years old. His cause of death not announced. November 3rd also will be a statewide election day. It's going to be a busy day in the first Tuesday of November, and so just a couple of additions announced to the ballot. All 4 U.S. House seats, a Senate seat will be on the ballot. Qualifying deadline for candidates in both special elections is August 30th. So that is on the way. Got the official announcement from Tate Reeves on that yesterday. If you rewind a little bit, you may remember this story, which now has, I suppose, its resolution. Former state senator Philip Moran and his son, who was a former Diamond Head councilman, Alan Moran, sentenced to prison after being convicted in a Hancock County case involving their attempt to persuade a stalking victim to just drop the charges. Circuit Judge Christopher Schmidt sentenced Philip to 20 years, 12 years to serve in prison, followed by 8 years of post-release supervision. Allen also received a 20-year sentence, 10 years in prison, followed by 10 years of post-release supervision. Because his sentence will run consecutively to a previously imposed 12-year sentence in a child exploitation case, that means 20 to 22 years in prison for Allen. Both the Morans found guilty of bribery and conspiracy to commit bribery by a jury earlier this month. Yuck.
Yeah, that was
on that one.
I was extremely disturbing reading that.
Yeah.
That story, man.
Bad all the way around. More than $8 million in federal funding has been made available for 4 flood mitigation projects in Mississippi through FEMA, the Federal Emergency Management Agency. Funding is part of more than $50 million that FEMA announced for 25 hazard mitigation projects across 7 southeastern states. Within Mississippi, $4 million going to Ridgeland's citywide flood mitigation project, $2.5 million to Long Beach Harbor, $1.1 million for Jackson's Midtown area stormwater infrastructure improvement project, and then another $1.1 million for Jackson's Queens area stormwater infrastructure improvement project. Other states included in the funding: Alabama, Florida, Kentucky, North Carolina, South Carolina, and Tennessee. Congress authorized those projects through the fiscal year 2026 Homeland Security and Appropriations Act. So all of that is on the way. We got your morning sports update coming up. We have an update for you from the Mississippi Lottery as well. Thanks for joining us. Mornings of Richard Cross on SuperTalk Mississippi, live from the Neshoba County Fair. Mornings is presented by Community Bank. Online at communitybank.net. Community Bank, rooted in our community.
Honey, and I done got broke. I done pawned my pistol, mom, and my best clothes and so. Lordy, Lord, Lordy, Lordy, Lord, Lordy, Lord, Lordy, Lordy, Lord.
From theseabrook.com.
From breaking news to bold opinions, Richard dives into the stories shaping Mississippi and the nation. Now back to Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk Mississippi.
C-Spire text line is open to you this morning at 601-879-4395. 601-879-4395. Learn more about the One Plan from C-Spire online at cspire.com. C-Spire, customer inspired. Speaking lineup today at the Neshoba County Fair, Thursday, June 25th. It gets started with Representative Scott Bounds, who is also the president of the Neshoba County Fair Association. At 9:10 this morning, the Honorable DeKeither Stamps, Public Service Commissioner for the Central District of Mississippi. At 9:20, it is Willie Simmons, the Transportation Commissioner. All of these are the Honorable, but I'm going to skip that. That's just the way they're written in the program, so we'll, Your Honors, Sir, Ma'am, Madam, etc. Willie Simmons, Central District Transportation Commissioner at 9:20. At 9:30, Supreme Court Justice Jennifer Branning. She is a local and has done a really good job. Kenny Griffiths, Also, the Mississippi Supreme Court at 9:40. They'll take a little bit of a break. And then at 10 o'clock this morning, Andy Gipson, Michael Watson will follow him. Jason White will follow him. And then the governor of the state of Mississippi, Tate Reeves, coming up at 10:30 this morning. Lance, I don't know if you saw this yesterday. See if I can pull it up.
What was it?
Tate Reeves. No. Yesterday on X. Sorry, I just messed up a one-liner for you, didn't I?
No, I was just curious if anyone, if you were talking about up front, Gerard Gibbert's drum solo. I know they had a concert to play. If I couldn't remember if it was today or tomorrow or yesterday. Yeah.
I think that's today.
Fantastic, man! I got to.
I saw Gerard late yesterday afternoon, and he was not carrying drumsticks around.
Yeah, I told him he better have a few extra set to throw to the crowd. You know,
I would encourage you to watch Middays with Gerard Gibbert today.
Gotcha.
Being that it is a performance day for him, I think you should anticipate black leather pants.
Oh, I hope, yeah.
And a black leather biker jacket with kind of a ripped-up Journey T-shirt underneath. And probably he's going to have his drumsticks behind his ear.
I hope.
Kind of like pencil style, one on each side, though.
We were talking about this the other day, yeah.
Because, look, man, he's going to finish his show, and then it's going to be dead sprint to the stage, and he's going to have to easily access those drumsticks, and he's probably going to be, in the air.
Yeah.
Going from here to there.
Well, I hope they have the Def Leppard drum kit, where they goes up and upside down and spins around and all that. And that'd be cool. But I mean, with Andy Gipson, Gerard Gibbert, and then you've got several others up there. He's got like a traveling Wilburys feel to the Mississippi version of that with all these musicians we have.
Yes.
Who's the other one I'm thinking? I know you just said his name earlier, and I can't off the top of my head.
Who? Andy Gipson.
No, it's Andy. You got Andy, Gerard, and Daniel Sparks. Yeah, that's the one. Yeah, and
Daniel Sparks walked through with the guitar yesterday.
That's what
morning.
I'm saying. Daniel's a musician as well.
He, I don't know if he did any picking last night or not. No, what I was going to say a second ago, you and I were not headed in the same direction. I'm trying to see it. Yeah, Governor Tate Reeves yesterday was kind of previewing the Neshoba County Fair, and I sure thought, I don't see it on his X account feed right now, that said he was going to pontificate on the gubernatorial election.
I
don't see it there. I don't know if it could be that his account was hacked or I'm just looking in the wrong place, but that would surprise me, but I think it would be incredibly interesting if he did that. All right, your morning sports update is brought to you by Pearl River Resort. Online at pearlriverresort.com. Pearl River Resort, your home for family fun, casino thrills, and live entertainment. Of course, Geyser Falls Water Park, great place to cool off in the summer. Philip M's, the award-winning steakhouse inside the Silver Star Casino, had dinner there last night, and it was fabulous as always. Philip M's, you can book your reservations online. And, of course, for all of the events at Pearl River Resort, buy your tickets online at pearlriverresort.com. Major League Baseball scoreboard update. Marlins over the Rangers yesterday. Cubs over the Mets 10-3. Cubs sitting there at 42 and 37. Mets are 11 games below 500. Guardians in extra innings 4-3 over the White Sox. That's the team that formerly was the Cleveland Indians, if you still do a double take and you're like, wait, who are the Guardians? I know it's been a while. Rockies over the Red Sox 8-6. Angels 7-6 in 10 innings over the Orioles. Rays beat the Royals 5-3. Yankees over the Detroit Tigers 4-2. 11-1. Pirates over the Mariners. Phillies beat the Nats yesterday. Astros 3-1 over the Blue Jays. And I guess they played a doubleheader yesterday. So game 2, Cubs beat the Mets 10-5. So a pair of wins for the Cubbies yesterday over the New York Knicks. Dodgers over the Twins. And the Diamondbacks beat the Cardinals 9-4. Tough one for the Braves last night. Padres won it 5-2 over the Atlanta Braves out on the West Coast. And the Giants beat the A's 2-1.
Your Yanks are doing well.
19. Yeah.
Yeah, 48-31. Pretty good start there.
It is. It has been a little inconsistent for the Yankees. They have now won 2 in a row after a couple of bad losses, leading the American League East by 3 games over the Tampa Bay Rays. So it felt like it was unsustainable success for Tampa Bay. They were so good for about the first month of the season, have cooled off a little bit in the American League Central. The White Sox and the Cleveland Guardians tied for first place.
Yeah, as bad as the White Sox have been for a while, that's nice to see.
They have been terrible.
Yeah.
41-38 there for the White Sox. Seattle leading out west in the American League, 2.5 games in front of Houston. In the National League, Braves have lost 4 in a row. They've lost 7 of 10, and they still have a 4.5 game lead in the National League East. Brewers with a 7-game cushion over the Cardinals and the Cubs in the National League Central, and it is a 9-game lead out west for the Los Angeles Dodgers over the Padres. We don't do baseball scores very often. Those will be a little more frequent now as, Lance, we've gotten to kind of the blank space on the sports calendar.
You get a little window to cover some baseball.
A little bit of a break. You do have the World Cup coming up, and the United States is back in action tonight. It's just in a game that doesn't really mean anything. The United States has already won their group, and we know that they're going to play on July 1st. The opponent tonight is Turkey or Turkey. When did that happen, by the way?
Yeah, Lucian and I were talking about that. It's been recent that we've seen it on the map change.
Yeah. It's like, you've been Turkey forever, and everybody knew what we were talking about. When did it become Turkiye with a little exclamation? Not exclamation, but a... Well, yeah, what
do you call the 2 little dots?
Mark?
Yeah, the 2 dots above a letter.
I don't know. So, there you go. Turkey.
Yeah, I like the spelling of it, yeah.
I guess. Christian Pulisic is expected to play tonight for the United States in a match that is going to be treated like a friendly. This is one where you just want to get out with everybody healthy. Ole Miss and its head baseball coach Mike Bianco finalizing terms on a new 4-year contract after Ole Miss made a trip to Omaha, their most recent trip to the College World Series. Details of the deal first reported by Chase Parham at 24/7 Sports. Bianco has just concluded his 26th year as the head coach of Ole Miss, 41-23 this past season. Rebels went 0-2 this year. Mike Bianco, 0-2 this year in Omaha. Mike Bianco hired in June of 2000, 990 wins as the head coach of the Rebels, 20 trips to the postseason, 2 SEC tournament championships, 9 berths in a super regional, and 3 trips to the College World Series. And oh, by the way, there was that national championship in 2022. So, Mike Bianco going to have his contract pushed out, it appears, to 4 years, which would take him through 2030. What a run.
Lock him down.
30-year run. And if anybody has deserved that, the dean of all of the coaches in the SEC, not just baseball, all the major sports in the SEC, certainly has earned that. That's your morning sports update brought to you by Pearl River Resort online, pearlriverresort.com. We've got your Mississippi Lottery update coming up next.
From the Venable Glass.
Mornings with Richard Cross.
On with the show.
Is back. Holy smokes. On SuperTalk, Mississippi.
MSLottery.com. That's the website for the Mississippi Lottery. You can also download the Mississippi Lottery app. It is available to you for free to keep up with all of the things that are happening with the Mississippi Lottery. Kind of a sleepy start to the morning at the Neshoba County Fair. It's not going to be sleepy at all in about 2 hours just across from us at the pavilion in the middle of Founders Square. Cabins lining all four sides of this area of oak trees and mud today. You got the kind of the ground-up sawdust mixed in with some mud and the Lance, I was telling you yesterday, the wardrobe apparel piece of choice overwhelmingly are the ankle-high rubber boots. Yeah. Not the rubber boot, not the knee boots.
The extra tough.
Too hot for that. But, yeah, that seems to be the brand that I've seen the most. You got some of those?
I do, yeah. I mean, I wear a 14, and the biggest they sell is a 13. So I really have to be very conservative in the sock that I put on because my toes kind of curl up a little bit at the end. I wish they made a 14. Yeah.
You could raw dog them, as the young people say.
I do that a bit, and they're not very comfortable that way. You get a lot of suction. Like,
yeah, I'm with you. I've got some, I don't know, whatever the Bass Pro Shop brand is. Is that Redhead?
Yeah, Redhead. That's
or Cabela's. Or,
both of them.
I guess that's all kind of the one now. But they're the like the rubber boots, but they've got like neoprene around the ankles. Mm-hmm. So those came in handy yesterday. Also comes in handy to know your numbers with the Mississippi Lottery. No jackpot winner yesterday on the Powerball. Next drawing coming up on Saturday night. $348 million, the estimated cash value there. $157.5 million. The next jackpot drawing for Mega Millions is on Friday night. $489 million, the estimated jackpot for that one, with an estimated cash value of $220,900,000. The Lotto America jackpot has rolled one more time to an estimated almost $31 million. It is the third largest in the game's history, third largest jackpot in the game's history, an estimated cash value of $13,940,000. You can check winning numbers or see if your ticket is a winner by downloading the Mississippi Lottery official app. How about the $5 scratch-off money bags? A Poplarville man won a top prize of $100,000. Got the ticket at Keith's Superstore in Poplarville.
I could use a big win.
That's a nice day.
Yeah, that's a big win there.
That's a good one.
I was commenting to you on the break. I was very impressed with your bravado today after 11 days straight of rain in the Red Hills of Mississippi. You got on the beautiful white.
Yeah, well.
Yeah, you're doing a good job, man. I mean, coming in. I thought you might have to come in.
White stripe.
Come in head first this morning.
No.
Yeah, Pete Rose slide coming in.
Yeah, you just got to know the timing.
Yes, sir. Man,
keep everybody on their toes, self included. Sid Salter going to join us coming up in just a few minutes. Andy Gipson on the road this morning, and feels like the Neshoba County Fair is the perfect spot for him. Cowboy hat?
Oh, he's got to.
I mean, if ever there was a spot for Andy Gipson, I mean, outside of the Mississippi State Fair, for him to have the hat on, it would be that day. I asked him. I told you I had the artwork from the album cover, his new album that is available on iTunes and Spotify and all the places that you download music. I said, "Sir, no hat on the cover." He said, "No hat when we're honoring the United States of America." There we go. So his God Bless America album, no hat on the cover, which is a little bit different look for the Agriculture Commissioner. Look forward to the conversation coming up with Andy Gipson a little bit later this morning. If you missed it earlier, I told you Philip Gunn, candidate for governor, is going to join us this morning, as will Bill Cork, executive director with the Mississippi Development Authority. Every time we talk to Bill, we've just had or are about to have another economic development announcement. The wins just keep on coming. And, one of the neat things about being at the fair, there's all kinds of political talk, but there's just talk about stuff that's happening in the state of Mississippi. And I don't know that there's anything specific that we can talk about right now, but inevitably, when we talk about economic development projects, we get messages on the C Spire text line that says, well, when are you going to bring one to the Delta? When is the Mississippi Delta? When is Southwest Mississippi going to have an economic development project? There are a few smaller ones that have been announced. There are some people that are working feverishly on some pretty significant projects in the Mississippi Delta. The only problem, they are running into some roadblocks in getting across the finish line on some of that. So hopefully in the days to come, we'll have some news to talk about. Folks sitting out on their porches around Founders Square, sipping on coffee on this Thursday morning, the 25th of June. Thanks for joining us. It's Mornings with Richard Cross, presented by Community Bank, 7 o'clock hour, on the way right after the news as we broadcast live from the Neshoba County Fair.
The views and opinions expressed by the hosts, guests, and callers on this show are not the opinions of TeleSouth Communications, its management, or advertisers.
Mornings with Richard Cross. SuperTalk, Mississippi.
You gotta be strong. Well, it's all right. As long as you got somewhere to lay. Well, it's all right. Every day is Judgment Day. Maybe somewhere down the road away. The end of the line.
Good morning to you. Welcome again to the Neshoba County Fair, Mississippi's giant house party. It's back. It's bigger than ever. We are glad to be with you from Founders Square in the heart of the Neshoba County Fairgrounds, one of the biggest events of the year. Our coverage of the Neshoba County Fair brought to you by Build Mississippi. If you've got a student wondering what's next after high school, Build Mississippi can help show them the options. It's also brought to you by Southern Farm and Ag Equipment that works as hard as the people running it. You can be part of the conversation this morning on the C Spire text line, 601-879-4395. That's the number if you want to join us. We'd love to hear from you. Again, 601-879-4395. You have for a while now heard me telling you about the One Plan from C Spire. And it is a doozy. The One Plan is fiber home internet and wireless phone service combined for just $99 a month. That's for new and current C Spire customers. One plan, one price, one experience with zero compromises. You can save over $700 a year with 3 phone lines from C Spire compared to AT&T. Plus, with 5-year price lock, you pay one rate with no surprises guaranteed. So don't wait. Get the One Plan today. Visit your local C Spire store or shop online now at cspire.com/oneplan. C Spire, customer inspired. Reminder for you that Mornings is brought to you every day by Community Bank. Online at communitybank.net. Ever notice how some places still know your name? At Community Bank, that's how banking works. We're a bank that knows community because we live here. And when you walk in, you're more than an account number. No matter what your banking needs are, here you will talk to real people who care about your goals. Community Bank, a local bank built on relationships. Stop by your neighborhood location or learn more at communitybank.net. A number of speeches yesterday, day one of 2 days of political speeches at the Neshoba County Fair. One of the things to me that stood out yesterday was Lieutenant Governor Delbert Hosemann. When he took to the stage, he talked through a lot of different things, and this is something that we have talked a fair amount about over the last 6 months, maybe 8 months. You've heard performance-based funding when it comes to colleges and universities in Mississippi. And I guess it was Monday of this week, We talked about the fact that the IHL had its monthly board meeting last week in Jackson, and there was unanimous approval from the IHL board to move forward with a new funding model, or to continue to explore a new funding model for the public colleges and universities in the state. And on the surface, that might look like a win. The Lieutenant Governor yesterday did not think so. And a lot of the legislators that have been looking at a performance-based funding model also did not think that Thursday was a win. Here's why. The IHL budget is about, just use round numbers, we'll say $900 million. And so when you talk about performance-based funding, you would think that, hey, all right, so you're going to say funding for tax dollar funding that goes to Ole Miss and Mississippi State and Southern Miss and Mississippi Valley State and Alcorn State, the W and Jackson State. Who am I missing? I think that's all of them. Delta State in that mix. You would think that means, okay, we're going to put metrics in place. We're going to evaluate what you're doing, how you're graduating students, how students are moving along. One of the conversations has been about degrees that are important, that fill the needs of some of these economic development projects, the high-need jobs. You're going to reward the schools with their funding based on doing those things well. Not the case. Delbert Hoseman pointed out yesterday that this presentation that was put forward by InChims, the consulting company, and that's what they do. They do higher education consulting all across the country. 1%. So basically $1 million out of that $900 million would be distributed based on performance metrics. And the Lieutenant Governor said that doesn't make sense. It feels like it ought to be the inverse of that. Maybe 99% goes to schools that are doing well, that are producing the outcomes that you expect, and that are being good stewards of the money that they're passed along. But that's not the case. And there has been a growing amount of conversation about schools not having decisions made by the IHL, but rather having individual boards for the schools across the state. Now, there are probably some different ways that you could do that you could put that together, that you could figure out how it works. Are all of the schools equipped to handle that, to have a board that is their own? Having talked with Chancellor at Ole Miss, Glenn Boyce, President at Mississippi State, Mark Keenum, I think that is a development that they would welcome. Would that be the case with Jackson State? Given some of the issues that Jackson State has had with leadership, and you hope, if you are an alum at Jackson State, a supporter of Jackson State, that going forward you've got a little more stability than you have had in recent years. I think it's something that Jackson State would be in favor of. But there is one pie of money that gets cut up among the schools. And if you're taking Mississippi State and you're taking Ole Miss, it's not so much that they are competing against each other. They are to a certain degree, but they're kind of looking at things in the same way because they are similar institutions, similar in size. They compete in the same conference. And so with Ole Miss and Mississippi State, it's interesting because it's not just that they're competing against each other. They are also competing with their fellow SEC footprint institutions. So that means Alabama and Auburn and Georgia and South Carolina and Kentucky and Tennessee and Arkansas and LSU, Vanderbilt. Texas and Texas A&M feel like they're a little bit of an outlier, but they are brother or sister institutions within the SEC. And if you look at the funding that goes to those schools from the states in which they reside, the comparison is apples and oranges in terms of the amount of money that comes in. But going down this funding formula road, the performance-based funding model, brings up a really uncomfortable conversation. In a state of 3 million people, give or take, are there too many schools? Are there too many public universities? And if you start talking honestly about that, based on the outcomes that you are seeing from those schools, you immediately hear, candidly, cries of racism. Well, if you start talking about schools that are underperforming and maybe you make changes, whether it's consolidation or outright closure of some schools, you immediately start saying, well, that's racist. You're not doing that for, you're looking at an HBCU. The truth of the matter is, Mississippi Valley State is underperforming. You have more African-American graduates at Ole Miss, at Mississippi State, and at Southern Miss than at any of the HBCUs other than Jackson State. Period. HBCUs, without a doubt, serve a purpose. Alcorn State's a land-grant institution, so Alcorn is not a school that's going anywhere. But those are uncomfortable conversations that at some point you've got to have. Now, from the IHL's perspective, they're not going to make that decision. And they're not going to make that decision because IHL would say, hey, our job is to take care of the schools that exist. That's the charter that we have. And then you get to the question of, well, what about the IHL period? Is it outdated? Well, it is a constitutionally appointed board, and so you would have to look at some pretty significant changes to make that happen. Yeah, you hear the blowers in the background. Everybody around here, including the puppy dog, who
love it.
Man, he's interested in a squirrel.
Sounds like a bird dog.
He has treed a squirrel, and he's ready to go. We're going to take a break. We're back with you right after this. Mornings with Richard Cross, Super Talk, Mississippi. Thanks for being with us.
From the Venable Glass
with Richard Cross, Super Talk, Mississippi.
Down the street, he says, why am I short of attention? Got a short little span of attention, and all my nights are so long. Where's my wife and family? What if I die here? Who'll be my role model? Now that my role model is gone. He ducked back down the alley with some roly-poly little bat-faced girl. All along, there were incidents and accidents. There were hints and allegations. If you'll be my bodyguard, I can be your long-lost pal. I can call you Daddy, and Daddy when you call.
Mornings with Richard Cross on Super Talk, Mississippi. Thank you for joining us. Glad to have you along for the ride. 137th? Is that right?
Wait, as far as the fair goes?
Yes. Isn't that what Scott Bounds told us yesterday?
I think we also had a question on the text line earlier in the morning. What was the highest overall attendance for any Neshoba County Fair? I did dig that up. It says 1995, there was 138,898 patrons that had attended. That is the record as it is stated out there on the old internet machine. So so it has to be accurate. Yeah, of course. I mean, it came from the Facebook Neshoba County Fair page, I believe. So,
okay.
Yeah, I think that's as straight from the horse's mouth as it gets.
Over 600 cabins on the fair property now, and Scott Bounds told us yesterday 500 RV spots and a waiting list for another 230 or so. If you have you ever been, Lance?
Oh, my goodness, yeah. All my family. Okay. My dad's side of the family's from up there, but I grew up kind of going to it here and there long before the expansion. So I've seen it from when the track, there was really nothing around it other than the stage, I mean, the stands, you know, and what it looks like now is like a whole community. It's a town of just multicolored, beautiful, awesome cabins. And I don't think there's going to ever be anything like the Neshoba County Fair anywhere ever. It is so unique and so Mississippi that, I mean, if you haven't been, you got to go. It usually is hot. It's unique, and but you go from just the food, seeing the horses and the political speakers, the cabins, and it's great to know people there, so you can kind of get some AC when you need it. But what a cool place!
And you know, when you have an event that has been going like this one has for as long as it has, there are certain years that stand out. That stand out more than others. And if you talk to longtime fairgoers, and that's one of the really cool things about this, is the majority of the people that are here, certainly the people that have cabins, they've got stories because they've been doing this for generations. And I've talked to people who said, yeah, hey, my great-grandfather had this cabin, and then it was passed on to his father or his son or his daughter, and so you're into a third, fourth, fifth generation of fairgoers. And I do think that there's an element of this, excuse me, where you hear people say, you have to be here to understand. Mm-hmm. And I get that, but I do think – so the very first time I came to the fair was a day trip. And I drove in, didn't really have a home base, and so I just kind of wandered around. And I thought, this is the craziest thing I've ever seen. And it's really not all that much fun. Just honestly.
Yeah.
But I have had a home base. I've got some friends that have a cabin here, and they've been gracious to let me stay there. And it is when you are sitting on one of those front porch swings or one of those rocking chairs on the front porch, and you're visiting with people that you know, and people walk by and they come up and they know, and you interact and all those things, it is a very different feeling. It has a home feel to it as opposed to you're just kind of there for the day and you're taking in the scene. You're just coming to hear the political speeches. The political speeches are a huge part of the fair, but they're an ancillary part of the fair. I was talking to a couple of guys last night, and I said, what's the best day of the fair? Or the best because you have all different ways that people, even longtime people, take it in. You have some that show up on the opening weekend of it, and they'll come in on Thursday or Friday. They'll stay for the first few days, maybe leave and go back home on Sunday, work for a day or two, and then come back on Tuesday, and they're here for Wednesday and Thursday and through the final weekend. Houston and I and Alex and I were talking a little while ago. There are people who work close enough, within an hour and a half, that they will work, drive to the Neshoba County Fair, have dinner with family, friends, take in the evening's festivities, sleep a little bit, and then go back and work, and then just do it over again. And they'll do that every day of the fair. And then you've got the crew that comes in, and they stay for the duration. Mm-hmm. And it's like it's a family reunion, it's a vacation, it's on the calendar. But this year the calendar switched, and the dates of the fair moved up. And for some people that was good. We talked yesterday with Scott Bounds yesterday, and he said it was not a light decision. It was not a fast decision that they made, but it was one that they felt was necessary in moving the dates of the fair this year to June from where it has traditionally been in mid to late July. And the school calendar is different than it has been in the past. We've got schools that have gone to year-round school with some little vacations. We've got schools that have gone to a hybrid school schedule. But most everybody in the public schools and in the private schools in Mississippi have gotten to a spot where about August 1st, certainly the first week in August, is when they return to school. And so you had folks that were staying through Friday or Saturday or maybe even Sunday of Fair Week, and then on Monday morning, school was starting for the new year, and teachers that had that calendar were having to leave early to get ready for the school year, and so ultimately they decided that was the right decision to move it up. The consensus with the group that I was talking to was that the first Friday of the fair is exciting because everybody's here, they're anxious, and they're ready to get it going. But that today, Thursday, the last day of the political speeches, a big music night, Mustache the Band at like midnight under the pavilion out in Founders Square. And last night, Wednesday night, was the midnight or all-night sing-along, which is, I have not made it to that, Lance.
Well, as much as you like to sing, I figured you'd be right there.
Well,
opera. It wasn't opera. It wasn't Hamilton.
Oh, stop it.
If you bellowed out some Hamilton there, people... that bird dogs start barking again.
Yeah, the dogs would be howling. But I mean, it's old-time piano, and they have kind of a songbook, and it starts about 1 o'clock and goes till about 2:30 in the morning, and everybody having a grand old time. And I think it runs the gamut from traditional folk songs to church hymns to stuff you'd never heard of to stuff that just sticks in your head once you hear it. All right, C-Spire text line 601-879-4395, 601-879-4395. Mississippi is similar in size and population to Nebraska. I think Nebraska has one 4-year public university, probably much more efficient. Don't you think? Nebraska has fewer than 82 counties. That's not exactly right on one public 4-year university. Now, there's not a University of Nebraska and a Nebraska State, but there's University of Nebraska, and then you've got system campuses as well. You've got the University of Nebraska at Omaha, Creighton, which I guess is a private school in Nebraska. I don't know enough about all the schools in Nebraska to just name all of those off the top of my head for you. But it is not a deal where you have, in a really small state, 8 major publicly funded universities. Let's see here. Bubba in Starkville. This is about the performance-based funding conversation and the potential for university consolidation or closure if you had to have it. It says, close all the HBCUs, make Southern Miss the flagship HBCU. He said, I'm a USM fan, but that seems like a logical idea to me. All these schools, including USM, are underperforming compared to Ole Miss and Mississippi State. I don't think it's as simple, and I don't think closing all of the HBCUs is the answer. Jackson State is a significant university. A lot of research dollars, a lot of good programs that are happening there. Might you see satellite campuses where you have perhaps one school rolled into Jackson State? It feels, I think what I'm getting at is this feels like something that you have to tiptoe around because it's a conversation that's full of political landmines, but maybe that's where we've got to get. Maybe we have to get past tiptoeing and just have common sense, fiscally responsible conversations about what is best for the entire state of Mississippi and for the students who are choosing to go to college.
Let's go. Waking up the Magnolia State. Mornings with Richard Cross. That's what it's here for. Super Talk, Mississippi.
Well, I'm standing all alone by the river of my home, thinking about the days I've left behind. All the years I roamed, not a nickel can I show, and the river helps to ease my worried mind.
Welcome again. Mornings with Richard Cross, presented by Community Bank. Online at communitybank.net. Community Bank, rooted in our community. Thanks for joining us today as we broadcast live from the Neshoba County Fair. We are right on the edge of Founders Square, and a big day of political speeches on the way today. We are going to hear from the Commissioner of Agriculture, who he was making a mad dash this morning. He started texting me an hour ago, and he said, I'm on the way, but I'm running behind. He found a place to park his horse and buggy, and Andy Gipson has arrived, and he's going to sit down and join us here. He's got all his campaign materials. He's got CDs. He's got the cowboy hat on today, which is an issue with the headset. We got to figure out a way to make a headset that's compatible with your cowboy hat.
Well, Richard,
good morning.
That's a great idea. That sounds like a great job for you. Why don't you give me a customized one I can keep on wearing?
That's what we might need to do.
Thank y'all for having me. It's great to be here, and always great to be at the Neshoba County Fair.
There you go. You got your sticker. You got your custom AG shirt there on.
We're going to be having a lot of great supporters here today. I have a custom-made fan, or a commemorative fan for America 250 with a quote from the Declaration of Independence, of course, that all men are created equal and are God-given rights. And I got my campaign logo on the other side. I'll be giving these out today, and just out yesterday, these new CDs that
I've mentioned this
for America 250, commemorative patriotic music album. And I love America because I have lived the American dream. I'll be talking about that today at 10 o'clock. And so I want to honor our country, thank God for America, and let's keep it strong and free for another 250 years. How about that?
I heard something about you.
Yeah. And
I want you to fill in the gaps for me on this story.
That's for you.
Thank you. Yeah. I appreciate that very much. When you told me about this and I saw the cover art, I was thrown that there was no cowboy hat on.
That's right. That's right. You know,
I said when we're honoring America, we're going to take the hat off. So,
yeah.
I was told that when you were in college and going to law school, that you stayed on family land and built yourself a log cabin that you lived in?
Board and batten cabin. It's a true story. And the cabin is there. I can take you and show you. When I graduated,
a cabin that did not have electricity? Is that accurate?
That is true. I have lived the American dream. And one of my dreams was to move to our family farm. When I was 18 years old, my mom and dad gave me permission to go down to the farm. We always had this farm just south of Braxton, just south of Star, outside of Braxton. And I moved to the farm, and I grew up on the farm in Brandon, our small farm. But my first job off the farm was working with my dad building houses. So I have a construction background. And Mom and Dad said, pick out a place. I picked out a spot halfway in the woods, halfway in the pasture. And I built a 300-square-foot cabin, 15 feet wide, 20 feet long. But my favorite part of this one-room cabin was the 8-foot porch I built on the front with a swing. And that is where I lived all during my college years and my law school years. There's another part of that story I'm going to do a video about soon, about meeting my wife, Leslie. We'll celebrate 25 years this year.
Congratulations.
Thank you. But
I've got 20 years coming up next month.
It's a great 250 years of America, 100 years of Mississippi College. I guess they've changed the name to Mississippi Christian University. That's my alma mater. And then 25 years of marriage this year, a big year. So, yeah, God bless my efforts. I lived on the farm. I moved to the farm. I commuted to MC 4 years. God bless my efforts. I double majored in history and political science with a focus in the Constitution, and a double major in Christian studies. And God blessed me, and I worked hard. And I earned the top GPA in my class in those studies. So I thank God for that.
So at what point did electricity make it to this cabin that you built on the edge of the woods in the pasture?
Well, my last week at Mississippi College, I met in Provine Chapel my future wife, Leslie. I was my last week, my last class. A mutual friend of ours introduced us.
Okay.
And I met her. I could take you to the tile where I met her in Provine Chapel. And my heart said, boy, howdy. And I asked her on a date. She said, I don't believe in casual dating. I said, what do you believe in? She said, I believe in courting. I said, well, let's go courting. And 27 years later, here we are. But when she and I courted for a year, we were engaged for another year, and in that last year, I was clerking at some big law firms. I earned some good paying jobs, and I used that opportunity to upgrade the cabin, put in electricity, built on a whole new wing, and a honeymoon cabin, literally. And so that's when I upgraded it with the modern conveniences for my future bride. So by the time we got married 25 years ago, I had the old cabin, which was upgraded with all the modern conveniences. I did it myself.
Like electricity and running water.
That's right.
Okay. The modern conveniences.
That's right. Now look, I don't want people to think I was out bathing in the spring or something. I mean, I had a place I could go, but I lived in the cabin without electricity. I lived there for all those college years. I studied hard. I didn't have other than raising cows and tending my farm, my focus was on studies. So God bless my efforts. I graduated number one in that department, and then I earned a scholarship to Mississippi College School of Law. Again, my alma mater. And worked hard. And God bless my efforts. Once again, I graduated number one in my law school class. And I say all that to say this. I have lived the American dream. I have been a very successful businessman, attorney, deal maker, handled the largest capital raise transaction in the history of the state of Mississippi as a securities attorney. For 20 years I've done that. I hadn't done it since I've been ag commissioner, but
right.
I'll tell you something. I love America, and the reason I cut this album is because I believe every child in Mississippi can live that same American dream right here. I didn't have to go out of state to do it either.
Right.
I did it 100% in Mississippi. Born, raised, educated, didn't go off, stayed here, worked all my life, and then I felt compelled to get back, and that's why I ran for the legislature, and the rest is history.
So, forgive me for, I'll just say it the way that I'm thinking. If Central Casting were to draw up an ag commissioner for the state of Mississippi,
yeah,
you're it.
That's what Phil Bryant said.
So, well,
he gave me that call one day, yeah.
So why governor? Why not? You know what? I think I'm in a place where I'm making a difference. I know the farm community matters immensely to you. Mm-hmm. You've been doing this gubernatorial race longer than anybody for this election cycle. It's hard to believe it's been a year, but way out ahead, which is a long runway for a political campaign.
And we're going to win.
Okay.
Remember, I told you that.
I will absolutely remember. Okay. I hope you'll keep coming and visiting with me.
I will.
So why making this transition from a spot that feels like it makes a lot of sense for you and for Mississippi to put yourself out there as a candidate for governor?
Because of what I have learned as ag commissioner the last 9 years. I attended a conference 2 years ago in Wyoming of all 50 state ag commissioners. The title of the conference was The Future of Food in America. At that conference, the experts, not me and not the politicians and not the ag commissioners, but the experts in food supply of the world said, California's drying up. The West is drying up. The Midwest is drying up. The only place that can be the food supply of our nation, they said, is the southeastern United States because of water. Now, we're complaining about the mud today. It's wet enough to bog a buzzard down here at the Neshoba County Fair. But we are blessed with water. Mm-hmm. We're blessed with abundant rainfall, abundant below-ground aquifers, and abundant above-ground reservoirs the Corps of Engineers built. And I am absolutely convinced, after going to that meeting and after what I've learned, that we are in a pivotal time in the history of America. Local food supply. We have come to depend too much on foreign food, Mexican, Brazil, all this stuff. It's cheap Vietnamese seafood. We got to bring our food supply back to this country. I've spent 9 years traveling the world offering food supply to people who have no way to produce their own food. We're letting it slip away, and I have been talking this to the legislature. I've talked to it to our other leaders, and they have ignored it. And in some cases, they have actively opposed my efforts. And when I'm governor, they won't be able to do that anymore because we're going to build 3 food supply hubs across this state: North Mississippi, Central Mississippi, South Mississippi. We're going to bring back value-added local processing for everything we already raise. I'm going to announce today we have a record number of farmers markets in Mississippi this year in the history of the state, 79, almost one in every county. But what we don't have is what we've allowed to go to foreign countries to process our own food, to cold storage, to distribute our own local food. If we don't take action today, not according to me, according to the experts, in 20 years' time, America's food supply will be in jeopardy. And I want Mississippi to lead, and I'll lead on that.
Mornings with Richard Cross, SuperTalk, Mississippi. More with Ag and Commerce Commissioner Andy Gipson, candidate for governor, coming up next.
From the Venable Glass.
What is it? What's going on?
Mornings with Richard Cross.
It is what it is.
Yes, it is. SuperTalk, Mississippi.
I just passed a Jimmy and a white. I've been passing everything in sight. 6 days on the road and I'm gonna make it home tonight.
I'm late. Hope I won't do that.
But it seems like a month since I kissed my baby goodbye.
Once again, good morning to you. Welcome in Mornings with Richard Cross, SuperTalk, Mississippi, from the Neshoba County Fair. We are glad to be with you on this Thursday morning, a day of political speeches that will get started at 9 o'clock. It will kind of start local and then work more to the statewide level. One of those speakers, 10 o'clock this morning, the Commissioner of Agriculture and Commerce here in the state of Mississippi, Andy Gipson, who is my guest right now. I don't think you would argue with this, and I have said repeatedly, I think the lasting legacy for Governor Reeves will be his record on economic development.
No doubt.
The number of projects, the number of companies that have either come into Mississippi or have expanded their footprint within the state. A big part of that economic development piece has been data centers, and that's kind of a lightning rod for a lot of people. I know you've talked publicly about concerns that you have. It's not so much with the economic development piece of it, though, is it?
Yeah, no, I want to applaud. I do applaud Governor Reeves. He's done a phenomenal job. I'm sure he'll give some numbers today about the economic development that we've seen under his administration, and he gets credit for that. I do have concerns about artificial intelligence. I have concerns about its intrusion into our freedom. I have concerns about, the traffic ticket thing that just came up. That's the tip of the iceberg, I think. But I think we need to understand more, and to make sure we understand more how these situations are going to affect our natural resources, our farmland, our energy. And I'm not sure that we have a full grasp of how it's all going to unfold at this point. I want to do a deep dive on that. I'm going to make it a personal mission of mine to fully understand that. I'm encouraged by the use of apparently these closed systems for water that I'm hearing about, but I want to confirm that that's the case. If that is the case, that's a huge alleviation of concerns that people have. But I'll tell you this: people in Mississippi do not like the data centers. I hear it all over every county I've been in. They're concerned about them. We have to address those concerns, not ignore them, not turn a deaf ear to them, but get the real answers.
It's education, though, right?
We have to find out. Yeah, we have to know what we're doing here and how it's going to affect Mississippi for the long haul. Here's what I know. I don't know how AI is going to change our world. I know it is changing the world. There'll be jobs that don't exist that'll be replaced. There'll be jobs that don't exist that will come to be. But here's what I do know. No matter what AI does the next 5, 10, 20 years, real people have got to have real food to eat. And my economic plan is really simple. It's getting back to the basics. We already have 79 farmers markets. We have a lot of great local production of food and fiber and shelter. What we need to do is bring back from these foreign countries our processing capacity so that we can process and store and distribute our local food. Agriculture is already the biggest part of Mississippi's economy. When you look at poultry and manufacturing, we're in the heart of chicken country right here. Huge economic GDP. We can actually double that GDP by bringing those processing jobs back to the Southeast, right here to Mississippi, double or triple that GDP, create real new jobs for real people. And my main concern is the real people of this state. I have a heart for the people. I know the people. I know how they think. And I think they are ready to get back to some more basic things. And I want to continue the economic growth. We're going to do that. I'm the only candidate with a business experience that can continue that economic development growth. But at the same time, we've got to balance that with maintaining who we are as Mississippi. And we're an agricultural state. I am the first agriculture commissioner in the history of Mississippi to run for governor. I will be the first agriculture governor, and I'm going to make sure we focus on keeping Mississippi, Mississippi, our rural roots, our traditional values, our local food supply. And I think getting the answers on all the ways AI is going to change our world and going to affect our natural resources. We need to have those answers. And by the way, I'm not beholden to any special interest group out there. I operate pretty independently. I'm able to do that because I have lived the American dream. And I want to represent the people on all these issues. Concerns about AI? Yes. Answers that need to be given to the people? Yes. We need more transparency. And it's not my job to tell Mississippi what data centers are going to do. It's the data centers' job.
So you were the first on the Republican side into this race. You talked about the fact that it was a year ago. Ultimately, this is going to be a crowded primary field. I know there's some announcements that haven't happened, but, I mean, if you spend any time around the Neshoba County Fair, people are talking about 2027, what the Republican primary governor's race is going to be. If it's a crowded field, that means it's going to be an expensive race. In terms of fundraising, how is that going?
We are going to have the funding we need to win this race. People don't need to worry about that.
But that's a reality.
It is a reality, and I'm not disagreeing. We're going to have the funding we need to win this race. I'm going to win this race. I'm going to win it not trusting in money, trusting in the good Lord who called me to do this and the good people of Mississippi. I'm not trusting in lobbyists or PACs or special interest groups. I'm not a country club politician, and I pray I die 5 minutes before I come.
I don't know that you've ever been accused of being one.
Well, I pray I die 5 minutes before I ever become a country club politician. But I am one who has proven to fight for the conservative values that we hold in the legislature, in the private sector, and as an executive leader.
Mr. Commissioner, thank you for your time.
God bless.
Mornings with Richard Cross.
Wake up.
Yes, do it.
Wake up. Come on. All right.
SuperTalk Mississippi.
Wake up.
My bros.
8 o'clock hour, mornings with Richard Cross, live from the Neshoba County Fair. Glad to be with you this morning. Mornings with Richard Cross, presented by Community Bank, online at communitybank.net. Community Bank, rooted in our community. One thing about Agriculture Commissioner Andy Gipson, you know where you stand with him, and another man who you know where you stand with joins me right now. Philip Gunn, who is a candidate for governor, former Speaker of the House and the House of Representatives in the state of Mississippi. I know you have been putting in the time on the road, and I appreciate you making the effort to get back to join me this morning. You were here yesterday and then head up to North Mississippi, spent some time at Tupelo, and back again.
Yes, I was honored to be invited to be the keynote speaker at the disaster recovery conference they had in Tupelo yesterday, arising out of the ice storm. You were probably a victim of the ice storm, I guess, since you live in Oxford, right?
We were very fortunate.
Well, I'm glad you didn't.
Lot of tree damage and a lot of damage in our neighborhood. But,
sure. Well, Commissioner Chris Brown put on a summit, Public Service Commissioner Brown, and I was honored to be invited to be the keynote speaker, talking about how the legislature works with the locals in disaster recovery. So we gave a speech and then had a meeting last night of some donors and supporters, and got up this morning to rush back to be with you because this is important.
Well, very kind of you.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate the opportunity.
Well, always enjoy the visits. I feel like in some ways you have made this more difficult on yourself than it would have been otherwise, in that you stepped away from elected office, running as Speaker of the House, obviously a very high-profile position in the state of Mississippi, and you got into the private sector, and then have said, now I want to jump back in. How difficult has that been to try to climb back? Obviously, relationships are still there. People, you still know lots of people.
Right.
But to step away and then to kind of jump back in.
Well, I think it's one of the distinguishing things about my campaign. I am not a career politician. I am not a country club politician, as I've heard.
Nobody is a country club politician
I'm
around
not a
here.
member of any country club.
Okay.
But I did step away. I'm not one who's just climbing the political ladder. I think that is one of the things that the voters have to evaluate when they're looking at this governor's race is, are there those who simply are running for the next highest office, who've been in politics forever and ever, and they're just trying to go up? I stepped away. It's just not something that...
Why did you do that?
Well, again, I'm not a career politician. I'm not one for whom this is my defining value is being a politician. The reason I'm stepping back in is because I've had a number of people who desire leadership. They see the future. They see that we're headed into the future. They are evaluating who can provide the best leadership. And I have been approached by not only legislators, but business people around the state, supporters around the state who are saying, hey, we need leadership. And your track record in the legislature during the 12 years you were a speaker reflects tremendous leadership. And that's something that I'm running on, trying to distinguish myself from the other. The other candidates are good people. They're friends of mine. We're all Republicans. And at the end of the day, I want us all to be unified, moving Mississippi forward. But in politics, you do have to distinguish yourself. And there is a difference between what we did during the 12 years I was speaker against the things that the others are running on.
I was wondering
if you like the fact that we're getting rid of the income tax, if you like the fact that we overturned Roe versus Wade, if you like the fact that we moved education from 50th to 16th, if you like the fact that we passed a road and bridge plan that is changing the infrastructure of this state, all of those things are things that happened during the time I was a speaker. And I'm the one that led in making those things happen. We were on the coast last week, 2 weeks ago, for the Economic Development Conference. They brought in 6 experts from around the country, 2 from New York, 2 from South Carolina, 1 from Texas, and 1 from somewhere else. And they talked about how Mississippi is positioning itself to be the economic development destination of the state. And they mentioned 5 things. The creation of the Office of Workforce Development, the MFLEX bill, the workforce bill that we passed, the education improvements. All of those things are things that are changing the image of Mississippi and making us a destination for economic development. Well, guess what? Every one of those things they mentioned were things that we did when I was in the legislature, when I was the Speaker of the House. So I'm running on the fact that we have provided leadership and we've got a track record of accomplishment that distinguishes us from the rest of those who are trying to run.
Well, and I think that's where I wanted to go next in terms of distinguishing yourself. Right now, you and Commissioner Gipson are officially announced. Everybody expects that there are more people that are going to climb into this Republican primary field. It's going to be really crowded. I mentioned to Commissioner Gipson when we were talking, it's also going to be really expensive. So the fundraising is a piece of this. But Mississippi's a red state. And you're a Republican, and he's a Republican, and others that are going to get in are Republicans as well. And so I guess everybody has their own brand of conservatism to some degree. They're varying levels of conservative. Right. What distinguishes you in this field as it exists or as it may exist in the weeks, months to come?
Well, again, I think it's the track record. Just look at those things that I mentioned that we were able to do that none of the rest of them were involved with. None of the rest of them were at the table making those things happen. And I guess as voters, they got to evaluate what does each person bring to the table. There's a different style of leadership that's required in the government process. This is not like being the head of a company, a CEO of a company. And I've heard some potential candidates talk about, well, we need a business person as a governor. This is not a business. This is government. And in government, you got to have relationships. You got to understand the process, and you got to have the relationships in order to do those things. Every one of those accomplishments that I just mentioned required somebody to go get the votes. That's the way the process works. To pass any of those bills, you got to have 62 votes in the House. You got to have 27 votes in the Senate. And these are from people who do not have to follow you. As the Speaker of the House, every time we move to move education from 50th to 16th, to overturn Roe versus Wade, to get rid of the income tax, to do the workforce bill, and all the things that I just mentioned, somebody had to sit down with a legislator who doesn't have to do what you ask them to do, which is different than a business situation, and you got to explain your position, why this is a good idea, and I need you to vote for it, and you got to do it 62 times because it tells how many votes it takes. Yeah. You got to have the relationship, you got to have an understanding of the process, and you got to have the trust of those people. And that is something I bring to the table that none of the rest of them do, because I have those relationships from my 12 years as Speaker. I understand the process. I have the trust of the people, and I can hit the ground running from day one. There's not a learning curve for me. There's not a get-to-know-you period that all the rest of them are going to have to go through. From day one, I can bring to the table the ability to start moving Mississippi, or continue moving Mississippi forward in the direction that we have already set it on a course to do.
So you mentioned that conference on the coast where you're talking about economic development, the reasons that people are coming to Mississippi. What is your vision moving forward on the economic development? Is it about continuing what has, frankly, started with Phil Bryant and has obviously continued on steroids during Tate Reeves' term? Is it about continuing along the same path, or do you tweak that vision a little bit from the way Mississippi?
Well, I think it's a little of both. I think, and keep in mind, when Phil Bryant became governor, I was the Speaker.
Right.
So everything that happened during the time that Phil Bryant was governor, and everything the first 4 years of Tate Reeves' governorship, we were involved with on the House side. We were providing the leadership in conjunction with them to get those things done. I think they've both done a fantastic job of economic development, and I see my buddy Bill Cork standing here. He is to be praised for all the things that he's done. He has done a fantastic job. Those are the types of things that I think we need to continue doing, and I'm all about doing that. Economic development is vital to the state. In my time as Speaker, and since I have announced my campaign, I have traveled all 82 counties of this state, and one theme rises up, and that is we want our children to grow up and stay in Mississippi. It is a problem we have tried to address. I think that is my vision for the state. I want Mississippi to be the best place in America to live and work and raise a family. And I was in Oxford, your hometown, not long ago. Had dinner with 12 leaders in that community. And I said, what is your vision for the state? And right out of the gate, one of them said, I want Mississippi to be the kind of place where my children want to stay and raise their families. Yeah. And that is what I'm trying to work to do. So what does that look like? I put it in two different categories. One is economic prosperity, and one is social stability. The economic prosperity involves high-paying jobs, recruiting high-paying jobs. We have the lowest median level of income in the country. We need to raise that up. It involves good health care. It involves good education system. It involves low taxes. As young people look to buy homes, we want to lower the property tax. We want to make sure the income tax is out of the way. We've already done that. Now we need to turn our attention to the property tax. We need safe
But you've got to make sure the revenue continues as well.
We did. When we got rid of the income tax, we made sure the revenue continued. So I've already done it. I've already done it once with the income tax. We can do it again with the property tax. And that is another distinguishing factor between me and the other candidates, is that none of them have ever done anything like that. None of them have ever led on that. None of them have ever talked about doing that. There's a difference. I read a quote.
We're up against the clock here. Philip Gunn, candidate for governor, former Speaker of the House. It's Mornings with Richard Cross.
From the Venable.
In the car, at home, or at work, it's always free to listen to SuperTalk Mississippi and Mornings with Richard Cross.
I I need to remind you, because I forgot to do this during the 7 o'clock hour. The 7 o'clock hour each day is brought to you by MWG Employer Services. Running a business is tough, and if you're struggling with HR, benefits, and payroll, you're not alone. That's where MWG Employer Services comes in. They can provide a full range of employer services plus a custom plan that fits you. Give them a call today, 601-206-7966, or go to MWGEmployerServices.com. Mornings with Richard Cross is presented by Community Bank. We are glad to be with you. Got the Neshoba Central Marching Band. They're a little earlier today, so that kind of gets the juices going once the marching band gets going, and a lot of buzz. Bill Cork joins us now, Executive Director with Mississippi Development Authority. Good morning.
Good morning, Richard. How are you?
Thanks for coming by.
Man, it's great to be here.
Do you want to jump into this perceived Republican primary field for governor that we're still 16 months away? I feel like everybody else is in.
I'm not going to join this crowd.
Or is rumored to be in.
Yeah, I'm not going to join this crowd. I have neither the appetite nor the financial resources
there you go.
to play that game.
There you go. Andy Gipson told us money's not going to be a problem, though. We'll take care of the money.
Praise Jesus.
Money has been at the forefront of what you do and what Governor Reeves is doing on a daily basis. I remember the first time you and I sat down together, you said, things are going well and we got a lot more on the way, a lot more pipeline projects that are existing. That has not slowed down.
No.
And the numbers, it's almost like we've become immune to the size of some of the numbers of these projects.
And it's not only the size, especially the giant data center projects, which when you start talking billions, people kind of glaze over because they don't realize what that means.
Yeah.
But it's also just the sheer number of projects. We announced 3 projects in the last 2 weeks with over 500 jobs in places like Pike County, in LaFleur County in the Delta, in Elkhorn County yesterday. It's not just the sheer volume, it's the number of projects, and the locations are so diverse, and everybody's that's in the game is getting a taste of this growth, and it's just really been amazing to watch.
One of the things, and I've mentioned this, every time you come on, I can go to the C Spire text line and look, and people are like, well, what about a project in Southwest Mississippi? What about a project in the Mississippi Delta? And your message in the past has been, be patient. We're working on those. But it takes a lot to pull it off. It's not just, hey, we want to drop a company or a project in this location, go be their company. The company has to want that as well. But we're seeing a little more momentum in the diversity of the locations, right?
It takes some time. We started in 2020 with the legislature and the governor developing a vision around site development, which is making sure we have the product, the industrial park space to locate these projects, and many of the counties are now on board with that. There's been a lot of fear of missing out. There's been a lot of peer pressure to get engaged, and I've spoken to the county boards of supervisors conventions and gone and met with over 25-30 counties throughout the state in private meetings to just help get them mobilized around what does it take to win. And it takes time to change a culture where folks are not used to figuring out how to get this done. And so it's part education, it's part resources, and then also it's just, I think there's a competitive landscape out there now where counties are just thinking, well, hey, I want to get in this game and I want to win. And that's what we need. That's the kind of competitive environment that makes it for a thriving business environment.
Are there any municipalities or counties that are pushing back and saying, we actually don't want this, or we're going to stand in the way of some of the, whether it's data center or otherwise?
I don't think that's necessarily pushback in the sense of we don't want any growth or any development at all. But there are communities that have a sense of what they want their community to be like and the kind of development that they want to come.
Yeah.
And I'll give you an example. Oxford, Mississippi, which is, your neck of the woods. I mean, they're not starving for industrial development up there. They want more of a biotech, high-tech, something complementary to the university environment. Sure. So, we're not showing Lafayette County for a lot of major industrial projects just because if I brought a major smokestack operation to Lafayette County, I'd probably get run out of town. So it's not necessarily the pushback on development. It's like we want to control our development. We want to control our future.
So it is strategic in nature.
Strategic in nature, yeah. And your friend and mine, Ryan Miller, is working through that right now, for example, in Lafayette County, how to adapt what the community wants to the market demands that are out there.
I always throw this at you. What's next?
We've got a couple of big announcements coming, as you know. I mean, there's always announcements.
I feel like I could clip the last time and the time before that and the time before that. You were on the, we got some big announcements that are on the way.
Just lather, rinse, repeat is what we say around the office. We are in the final negotiation stages. This is essentially a done deal, but you're going to hear about another project with 2,200 jobs coming to Mississippi. We'll announce in the next couple of weeks. That'll be one of our largest employment announcements in the history of the state. It'll be rank up there in the top 3 or 4 overall, so that's coming. And it's not a data center.
Okay.
But what's interesting about that project is it's data center adjacent. We've heard a lot of things about data centers not creating any jobs, but this is actually a supplier to that national and global data center market. They make things that go into data centers. So when we hear this story about there's no spillover effects from data centers, I kind of chuckle because it's going to be one of the largest announcements we do in the state.
Well, the data center conversation is like it's the big bad boogeyman for a lot of people, and then there are a lot of people that are like, it's not as bad. Now, are they visually appealing? I guess that's up for debate, but some of the conversations about energy, electrical energy, and water, I don't know that overblown is the right way. I mean, I think there are reasons for people to ask questions and want to understand more, but the automatic assumption that big data center equals bad, has that been debunked?
I wouldn't say debunked. I think there's legitimate concerns that any local community that wants to, work in partnership with a major data center developer should ask these questions. These are not inappropriate questions to ask of any major industrial development project in your community. You should know exactly what the externalities or the impacts are going to be to your community, and you should ask those questions. Now, I think on the big announcements we've had, like with XAI and AWS, we feel pretty satisfied, and the governor, I think, feels pretty satisfied that these companies come with a water story and a power story that's going to be negligible to no impact over the long term on the local residents. And the community leaders that supported these projects also agree. So we think we have alignment around those issues. But are there bad actors in any industry? Yeah, there are. And in the early days of the data center craze, there was a lot of exploitation of available power and water, and the technology and the sensitivity around these issues wasn't there, and so you had a rush to market. And there were some negative things that happened in places like Virginia and on the West Coast that created this uprising. But what I can tell you is I've been briefed by federal authorities that a lot of the narrative development around data centers that's negative is coming out of China and Chinese bot farms that are just filtering through all these social media feeds. And it's not hard to see. If you just go out and do a couple of clicks, you can find these guys.
Yeah, and I feel like in some ways we were kind of on the front edge of talking about that. Your friend and mine, Joe Stratinger, with Edge Theory, talking about narrative intelligence. I mean, a year ago was on. He goes, Richard, he's like, a lot of the misinformation or the negative information, you could trace it to Beijing.
Tehran, Moscow. I mean, these are not our friends, and they know that we have a competitive advantage right now in artificial intelligence, which is coming whether we like it or not.
And it's really about sowing discord among people.
Yeah, they want to create confusion and discord amongst us to slow us down while they catch up and beat us. That's the game they're playing. So I just urge people, ask the questions, absolutely ask the questions of the companies, of your local officials. Make sure that your concerns are satisfied, but you should do that with any industrial project that comes to your community, not just the data centers.
The jobs numbers that the governor posted about yesterday, over 1.1 million non-farm jobs, which is an all-time record in Mississippi.
It's 1.195 and some change, almost 1.2 million, which is the highest employment in the state of Mississippi's history. Our labor force participation rate is improving. The wage rates, I know you just had Philip Gunn on your previous second talking about wage increases. Almost all these jobs that we are now bringing into the state produce a higher than average manufacturing wage, which is north of $68,000 a year. So these are the project that was announced in Greenwood in LaFleur County just a week ago. Those jobs are averaging $109,000 in the middle of the Mississippi Delta. So, we are going to move the needle. And I'll say one other thing, Richard. We've announced over almost 26,000 jobs. That's going to be about 28,000 here in the next couple weeks. most of those jobs haven't even been filled yet because the companies are still under construction or underway. So there's going to be a lagging effect on this employment that's going to happen over the next few years, and we're going to continue to see this momentum happen.
But when you throw those numbers out, and forgive me for being elementary, when you say 68,000 to 109,000, you're talking about $32 to $55 an hour.
Correct.
If you want to break it down to an hourly wage, because for some people that's a little more consumable. That's real money.
It's real money. It doesn't include benefits. It doesn't include overtime.
Right.
It doesn't include other things that come along with it. And if you qualify for Mississippi's incentives, these companies are required to pay at least 50% of their employees' health insurance premiums in order to even get into our game. So these are really, really good, high-quality jobs we're bringing in here.
Always appreciate your time. Look forward to next time when we can stretch it out a little bit more, but we're one after another this morning.
It's
Thanks
been great
so much
to be with you, Richard. Have a great fair.
Bill Cork, Executive Director of the Mississippi Development Authority. We're back with you right after this. Michael Watson is next.
From the Seabrook.
Stay social during the show at SuperTalk Mississippi on Facebook. Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk Mississippi and the SuperTalk app.
Mornings with Richard Cross, SuperTalk Mississippi, live at the Neshoba County Fair. It's a little overcast, it's a little muggy, it's a little muddy. It is absolutely perfect, and the energy level this morning at 6 o'clock, maybe not so, but once we got to about 7:30, it's like it's ramping up, and a big day of political speeches that will conclude with the governor of the state of Mississippi, Tate Reeves. That's at 10:30 this morning. At 10:10. Under the pavilion in the middle of Founders Square, the Secretary of State, Michael Watson, will be taking the stage. He joins us right now. Good morning.
Good morning, my friend. Great to see you as always, and really good to be back in Neshoba County. I don't know if I've told you this before, my mom's from just up the road in Noxapater, Mississippi.
Noxapater.
So, grew up coming up here and spent my summers playing baseball and picking vegetables and steering away from wasps and everything else out there in the field. So.
Wait, is that like political speak because it makes you sound down to earth, or you literally were playing baseball and snapping peas at your grandparents?
Legit vegetables. We had a huge garden, and my grandfather ran a cabinet shop. So my job was to sweep out the saws, all the sawdust, sweep it up, get it out of the shop, and then my pay was he'd take me fishing after work.
Okay.
And, so on the weekends we were in the garden. And then when I was here during the summer times, I'd pick up here at the little leagues and play baseball up here too. So yeah, legit.
Yeah. You're like an itinerant baseball player.
That's
in
right.
the summers.
Yeah, that's like a Ichiro or something, just coming up here and hopping in the league.
I don't know about that comparison, but just the greatest hitter of all time, arguably. Pete Rose.
It just came out. It just came out.
I understand. What about this scene? When you look around, I said a second ago, energy. I'm not trying to just build it up because we're here, but
right.
There's a buzz, and I think where we are today compared to where we're going to be a year from today, give or take, it is a different place. I don't know that I remember feeling like there was this much buildup to a statewide election as far out.
I'm with you there.
Has the political cycle sped up?
I think so. And I think as you see, obviously, this field shaping up of the different races that are starting to come together. See Tommy Duff over there, by the way, and a few others that are out here, out and about. I think people are starting to sense that it's coming together, and then folks are going to start picking those horses and off to the races. So I do think this year is going to set the groundwork for that, and it's going to speed up much sooner than normal.
It's fascinating because there's a rumor mill or a rumor cycle. Mm-hmm. And Andy Gipson was on with me a while ago. He announced a year ago that he was running for governor. And now Philip Gunn has jumped in. And that's, 16 months out from the general election and, a year out from the primary. But there are others that people are talking about. Some of your colleagues will continue to talk about. And once this takes shape, what does it look like? and I'm actually asking you that question as your role not as a candidate for lieutenant governor, but as the state's election officer.
Yeah, one of the things we do is advise, and so oftentimes, and gosh, through the last 6.5 years, when you get in these years where you've got a number of candidates running for different offices, our phone starts to heat up. Folks are asking about campaign finance reports, about deadlines, about what can I do and what can't I do, and so we get a lot of questions about that, and the campaign teams start to call us almost every day. Hey, can we do this? Can I raise money this way? Can I go to this event and pay for it out of campaign funds? And so you start seeing a lot of questions like that where people are framing up their campaigns, and you can start to kind of pick up in which direction they're headed, and that's pretty fun from the inside piece. But yeah, it's busy, and we enjoy it. So we're looking forward to a fun year ahead.
What is the balance for you right now? Because you are in a busy season with regard to the Secretary of State's job,
right?
But you're also a candidate for the second highest office in the state of Mississippi.
Sure. Yeah, for me,
how do you make those work together?
You work first. You do your job. I was elected to be Secretary of State of the state of Mississippi for a 4-year term, and so we're going to run through the finish line and work really hard. One of the things that we've tried to do is make sure people understand that that's my job first, and it involves a lot of travel, so it's really kind of almost normal for me to be around, and we got a jet on the air or something. But it's normal for us to be traveling around the state and being in different locations, so it's pretty similar to what we normally do anyway.
Is that coming from the stage, or is that us? I think it's coming from over there.
I don't know where it's coming from, but it's okay.
Yeah, that is not us. It's not something that Houston can just press a button and fix.
Got it.
A lot of activity in and around. There was a letter that came from your office to the leaders of the legislature saying that there was a timeline that the Secretary of State's office and the state election boards would need to prepare for redistricting. And your office is beginning that conversation with the idea that you go back to the 2022 maps.
Yes. So a couple things there, and I think you hit the nail on the head, the piece with the timing. When an election is open, basically the statewide election management system, and so we're about to come into an election season this fall. When the election's open, SIMS, you cannot mess with the maps within SIMS. So what we're seeing here is we're going to bump up against the January 1st qualifying period, the opening, closing February 1st. The legislature has talked about redistricting the congressional map, the Supreme Court map, and the state legislative maps. And if you try to do that in those compressed time frames, my fear was and is if that happens, I don't think they get that done in time to qualify January 1. So then either one of two things has to happen. The legislature is going to have to move back to qualifying opening period and the deadline, or two, what we have said was basically, I'm the chief election official. There it goes. Chief election official here. We made the decision with the timelines as they were, with the Calais decision.
We're pulling out all the stops. we scheduled a flyover for this morning.
I appreciate that. That's a flyover just for us. That was special. So, but we looked at these timelines and said, look, we're not getting much direction. We're gonna make the call, and we're gonna lead Mississippi forward. As the Calais decision came down, the 2022 maps that were adopted lawfully by the legislature, that was a Mississippi action by the Mississippi legislature, those would have been the maps but for the lawsuits that came.
Right.
And as we well know now, those lawsuits were vacated. Their findings were vacated and so sent back to the district level for further proceedings. So what we thought was, well, look, with the Calais decision, we were very comfortable with those 2022 maps being the case. We're going to redirect our clerks and others to start working on those maps. In the interim, if the legislature does come in on a special session, I've heard a couple of different things from different folks, but our idea was they're going to be probably close to the 2022 maps. So if we're already there, won't take as many tweaks to get there in time for the election.
And I think it was the lieutenant governor that brought up that, hey, the 2022 maps were drawn under the same unconstitutional set of rules that existed, and so maybe it makes more sense to start from scratch. But there are a lot of others. I was speaking with somebody earlier this week that said, look, those 2022 maps were pretty good, and there weren't many people that dissented or didn't approve of those maps, and maybe that's what makes the most sense.
Well, so let's walk back. The 2022 maps were legitimately adopted by the legislature. The NAACP then files their lawsuit, forced the legislature to come back and change those maps. So the original 2022 maps were legitimate. With the lawsuit, it forced them to change it. And then you'll remember there was a second step behind that. So the legislature comes in, they redraw Hattiesburg area, DeSoto's, a couple other areas. The court said, you know what, we're good with all of that with the exception of DeSoto. That's when the State Board of Election Commissioners had to come in and pick another map. So there's been 3 iterations. 1, the original. 2, what the legislature said. The court said, we're good with all that except for DeSoto County. Right. And then 3, what we did with the SBEC. So the original 2022 maps were constitutional and legitimate. And I think that's what we are standing on based on Calais.
Are there pending lawsuits that still are out there right now?
So
with regard to redistricting and district lines?
Yes. So those 2 cases, the White case and the NAACP case, White dealing with Supreme Court, NAACP dealing with legislative, those have been sent back to the federal level for further proceedings. Now, what we think is because of Calais, they're probably at a dead end. But we'll see what they do.
You have traveled already most of the state of Mississippi. You had kind of an announcement tour when you said, hey, I want to be your next lieutenant governor. What was the reaction that you got as you went kind of from north to south, east to west?
You know, I was talking to somebody the other day, and he said, Michael, one of the cool things was it was an open to the public event, you know, and the crowds that we saw at all of these stops. And Richard, look, 11 cities in 3 days was a lot. A lot. But the energy, the reception, we raised a bunch of money. People were just coming up saying, hey, we want in. We support what you're doing. We think you're going to be fantastic. So, man, the reception and to my friends in the media that week was kind of, I guess, a down week. So we got a lot of coverage.
Yeah.
It was phenomenal. So really proud of that.
Theme for you when you speak today?
We're going to talk a little bit about our office. Obviously, again, I'm the Secretary of State first, candidate second, and then we'll blend in a little bit of campaign chatter as well. But we're excited to be here. And again, I got a record to stand on, Richard. Really proud of that. The work that we've done in elections and business services, public lands, you name it, any one of them we can talk about and say that we left it better than we found it.
Secretary of State and candidate for Lieutenant Governor Michael Watson. Always appreciate your time.
Thank you, sir.
Good to see you this morning.
Yeah.
We will wrap things up with you on this edition of Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk Mississippi right after this.
Pull down the chicken sauce, say they all know my name.
From the Venable Glass.
Interviews, weather, sports, all right here, all morning long. Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk Mississippi.
Have mercy on me when it comes to crossing the good dollar woman. That just scares the devil right out of me.
The Neshoba County Fair is rolling on this Thursday morning, June 25th. Our coverage here at the Neshoba County Fair is brought to you by Build Mississippi. If you've got a student wondering what's next after high school, Build Mississippi can help show them the options. It's also brought to you by Southern Farm and Ag, equipment that works as hard as the people running it. And from Build Mississippi, as we wrap things up today, Brent Bean joins us. He is president there. I don't know that the Neshoba County Fair is actually the center of the universe, but it kind of feels like it's the center of the universe this morning.
Hey, it does today. There's a lot of people here and a lot happening.
Brent, I appreciate you coming by and love what is happening at Build Mississippi. You and I were talking off air just a moment ago. There's a lot going on. There are a lot of opportunities that are available as well.
Yeah, you know, you were talking about it earlier, just so much booming in our state, you know, economic development. And with that, you know, whether it's data centers coming or new manufacturers coming to our state, what that means is somebody's got to build all of that.
Yeah.
Somebody's got to lay the infrastructure for it, you know, the roads, the bridges, the utilities, building the buildings themselves. And construction's in demand. It's high demand and it's high paying jobs. And what we're trying to just get the message to young people to realize is, you know, college is not the only pathway for success for you.
Right.
You know, it is for some people. And, you know, I've got a 4-year degree, went to Delta State and, you know, had a great time there. I'm very blessed from my time there, but it's not the only pathway for people. And that's what we're just trying to educate young people and their parents, you know. hey, if you've got a student that likes building with their hands, they like being outside and doing stuff and thinking outside the box, there's an opportunity for them. And not just a good paying job, but a true career.
Sure.
You know, and you see it out here with all of the different contractors that are represented in all of these cabins, whether it's the Yates or who have you. You know, it's a great career to provide for your family and to stay right here in our state. You don't have to go somewhere else to make a great living.
Well, not only do we have all of these new construction jobs that are coming on board, and you know, whether we're talking about data centers or some of the other, those are long-term construction projects. It's not just, you know, hey, here's a job for 6 months. But it's my observation, you can tell me if I'm wrong, the construction workforce is aging pretty significantly. You've got a lot of people that have been plumbers, electricians, general contractors for 30 years, and they're kind of slowing down, but not sure where the next level comes from.
Exactly, and that leads right into, you know, there's so much opportunity, and these positions are in high demand because you said it. So much of the workforce in construction, they're retiring out.
Yeah,
they're getting ready to, you know, hang their hat up and, you know, live that other part of their life. And, you know, the owners of those companies see the need. We need people now, not just to be general labor in the field, but these are positions that they are grooming people to be the next supervisors, to be the next project managers, and to lead their company into the future.
You know, one of the things that I've thought about with my son, who loves to be outside, loves to build stuff, do things with his hands, I don't know from a career standpoint where he'll be. You talked about, you know, a 4-year college degree is not the only option, but what about kind of the blended version of that from somebody that says, hey, yeah, I love the idea of working in construction, but I don't want to necessarily just work for somebody else. Is there, are you seeing more people who are saying, hey, I'm going to go get a business background or an architecture background, and then I'm going to jump to this thinking about a 40-year plan?
Yeah, the entrepreneurship in this industry is such a big you know, selling point. There's not a whole lot of industries that are out there where, you know, you can start off ground level or what have you, but one day you can be your own boss.
Right.
You can own your own company, and that's the opportunity that's available in our industry. And we work with USM. We were actually there last week for a construction camp that they were doing for juniors and seniors at the School of Construction and Design. We work with Mississippi State at the BCS program there. So there's definitely a pathway if someone wants to go that route. You know, I think I want to do construction, but I do want to get my degree and maybe run my own business.
Right.
And that pathway is available to you. We have a lot of people that actually come to us that, you know, graduated college and maybe worked in the business world for a couple of years and realized, you know, I want to get into construction. That's something I want to do. They come in having been out of school for 7, 8, 9 years, run through our apprenticeship program, you know, learning the trade itself. They've already got that business acumen already from other years of experience. Then we train them in the electrician or a plumber, and now they have skills to go out and start bidding jobs, running jobs on their own. You know, we've a guy that I always talk about, he's like a golden child for us to promote is Paul LaValle. He worked for a local electrician, went through the apprenticeship program, started running. He had his own truck, got a buddy to help him. Then he needed another truck and a couple more buddies to help him. And now he's running out of Clinton. I think he's got like 24 trucks. His company's booming, 50 employees, and that's what's available for you in this industry.
If something that you have said strikes a chord with somebody, what's the best way for them to learn more?
Go to buildmississippi.com. We've got an info box on there. Okay. You can shoot something in our info box, and we'll be in touch.
Buildmississippi.com is the website. Our coverage of the Neshoba County Fair brought to you by Build Mississippi. Thanks for being with us on this Thursday morning. Gerard will be in an hour from now, 10 to 1, with more from the Neshoba County Fair. Have a great day.
A SuperTalk Mississippi media production.